Hey guys, today we are planting pole beans and talking about how to grow them. I love growing pole beans so much. In my opinion, they're the absolute easiest garden vegetable to grow. In the garden, they look so pretty growing up a trellis. Since you grow them vertically, you really do get a very nice harvest for the small amount of space that they take up in your yard. To plant them, you need some kind of trellis. Depending on the variety you're growing, they could grow up to maybe 10 or 15 foot tall. It really depends on the variety, so be sure to check your seed packet. You don't necessarily need a trellis that is that tall. We made this simple A-frame trellis a few years ago out of some cedar logs that we got out of our woods. I tied some baling twine on it to create kind of a net so that the beans planted at the bottom had something to climb up. I have used this trellis for growing beans for a few years now. Once they get to the top, they kind of flop over to the other side and keep growing. The trellis is maybe 5 foot tall. It's not that big. You could plant them up some kind of poles, maybe some tall garden stakes. This one is a teepee-like structure that I made probably about 6 years ago. I just used sticks to build it and then tied it all together. It worked really well. My son liked to go in there and play. I left an opening so he could get in there whenever he wanted. This is another teepee structure that I made from sticks. It's a little bit smaller than the first one I made. I grew beans up this trellis just a couple of years ago. This is a structure that I grew peas on one year. Something like this would work just as well for beans. You don't have to spend a bunch of money on a trellis. Just go find some sticks or branches in the woods, throw something together. You would be surprised what you could make. This year I'm planting beans on this cattle panel arch trellis. These arch trellises are also really good for growing indeterminate tomatoes. I don't have the best soil. It's heavy clay. Beans have no problem growing in my garden. On the internet, it says that beans prefer silty loam, sandy loam soil, and I'm sure that's true. And they probably grow even better in that soil type. You can amend it with some compost if you want to. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Either way, I'm going to get plenty of beans just planting them right in this lumpy clay soil. The most important thing you can do if you are growing any plants in clay soil is put some kind of mulch down after you plant your seeds in your plants. I like to use straw. It'll help keep your soil softer. It attracts worms. They burrow around in the dirt and create little air pockets, which is a good thing. It keeps your soil from getting hard and compacted and giant cracks across it in the middle of the summer. So definitely mulch if your soil looks like mine. This is a nice sunny spot. They grow best in full sun, and they do like it warm, so if you can, wait a couple of weeks after your last frost date to plant them. This little trench I'm digging is maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. I'm just dropping my bean seeds in. I don't pay too much attention to spacing. I have read to thin your bean seeds from anywhere from 4 inches to 1 foot apart from various seed packets and sources on the internet. I may or may not thin these out. If I do thin them out, I will have them spaced probably about 4 or 5 inches apart. Either way, even if I don't thin them out, I'm still going to get plenty of beans to harvest. A couple of benefits to giving your plants a little bit more space would be the vines won't be crawling all over each other and shading each other out, which could give you a bigger harvest. The leaves would dry faster after rain and dew, and this would lower the risk of fungal disease. If they're spaced out a little bit, it'll be easier to find and pick your beans. If you plant them and you forget to thin them out, I wouldn't worry about it too much. After I get these covered up with my crusty looking soil, I'll give them a good watering. These will sprout up probably in less than a week. I mean, they might take maybe 10 days. I don't think they're going to take that long. Once your plants start producing, you want to be out there picking beans every 2 days or so. The goal of your plants is to reproduce, create mature seeds, and drop them so that the next generation can sprout up and live. If you're out there picking beans every day or two, you're inhibiting the goal of reproducing a new generation of seeds. So your plants will keep growing beans for you to harvest. Also, that's if you're wanting green beans. You should be out there picking them every day or two. You might be growing specifically to get dry beans for storing and eating throughout the winter. Some varieties are best as dry beans, some varieties are best as green beans, and there are also varieties that are good for both. So just be aware of what you're planting. And speaking of varieties, there are so many varieties out there. I haven't even come close to growing most of them. Some varieties are stringless, like Blue Lake. Other varieties have strings, and you have to snap those beans and get those strings out of there before you cook them. The bean pods can come in many colors. Of course, there's green, there's also yellow, purple, pink. I won Best of Show at my county fair for some flamingo beans that I grew a couple of years ago. They were so pretty. I also won a first place ribbon for some dry beans that I grew. The variety was Red Eye Fall. And yes, I am bragging about my fair ribbons. You get excited about things like that. Once you get up into your late 30s, early 40s, that kind of stuff is exciting, at least for me. And that's all for this video. If you've never grown pole beans before, I hope that you try them sometime. They're very easy to grow and highly productive. They don't take up much space. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite bean varieties are. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.